Welcome to the Talk with Clads podcast. Your host is Katie Ann, an island girl on a journey with her guests to learn about their backgrounds, businesses, passions, experiences, life lessons, and wins. Come and laugh, cheer, learn, and plan with us. My friend, take some time to come and talk with Clads.
Hello world, welcome to Talk with Clads. My name is Katie Ann and I'll be your host for today. I am so excited for today's show. Over the next few podcasts, you will hear that it's a little bit different, and that is because we have partnered with UNESCO. So UNESCO is, I'll just read what they are. It's the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, and it's a specialized agency of the United Nations aimed at promoting world peace and security through international cooperation in education, the sciences, and culture. So I am so excited to have um, this opportunity to be a partner and participate. And so for the next few weeks, you'll hear us talk about topics that necessarily are not just focused on business, but more so focused on business, culture, and different things that is affecting our community. So we do have a special guest today. Her name is Diavian. Diavian, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hi, Wilson.
Hi. So you have to speak up a little bit because Diavian is in college, so she did a call-in for today's show.
Can you hear me properly?
Yes, I can hear you. Great. So, what do you think about the opportunity to partner with UNESCO?
Oh, I think it's a wonderful idea, and I'm looking forward to all the important topics we're going to discuss and learning more about UNESCO.
Okay. So, UNESCO has a great event that is coming up, and it's from October to November. It's for the month of October through November, so we're a little bit late, but we're still there. But the specific focus, I think, is the week of October 24th, where they have different countries participating in this event. The topic or the theme, which is always the number one goal, is to actually just stay a lifelong learner. So great opportunity for you guys to learn some information, know what's going on around the world. A lot of times, we get our information from social media, which sometimes, I am also guilty of that. And one of the topics that we are going to discuss is, if there is an addiction, if you can be addicted to social media. So some people will disagree, and that's okay. That's the beauty of having these types of conversation. Some will say, well, why not? Can't we use social media as a tool for us? And it is. Social media is a great tool. A lot of employers market on social media, but everything has to have a balance. And so, great topics ahead, great guests ahead. We'll be talking about women issues, non-for-profit. I remember one of the podcasts that we did was Help Us Help Haiti, and we brought on the non-for-profit, the Alleluia Tribe. And I will tell you, I posted it. I think I posted that a new podcast alert was out on Facebook and also on Instagram. This is social media. And the amount of hate messages, hate DMs that I got regarding this podcast, so you do unfortunately have a divide where people feel very strongly Sometimes it can be a negative way about it. However, I think it's a great organization. Haiti has a lot of stuff that's going on right now, and we're going to definitely touch base on that because it is a global event and global media and information literacy week. It's in its 10th year, and the theme is media and information literacy for all. So our goal for the next few weeks is to touch on information that provides literacy for all. So we are all learning together. And so I know my daughter she represents the younger generation. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to have you call in, give your feedback. Like, what do you think about us participating in this? And also, we may have her participate in some of the topics along with our guests. All right. So this week, I wanted to speak about resumes and being prepared. A lot of times, you have people that are going out into what we call the workforce. And, they don't know, like we get these, Microsoft may have a template that says, okay, this is how you put this information in, and then it formats the resume. But, there's actually a strategy into writing your resumes. So the tips that I would provide, because in my day-to-day job, I definitely am someone that will be evaluating your resume. That's actually what I do as my main stream of income, to see if you are a match for the opportunity that I have available. So we definitely, as in my current role, I have about 10 seconds, because I get so many resumes, or sometimes 20 depending on the position, 20 minutes, just to say, okay, is this a good fit? Is it because I'm looking for certain keywords? And how does this person tell a story? And would they be a fit based on what's on their resume for the organization? So, Diavian, have you ever gone through like a job interview?
Yes, I've gone through quite a bit these past few years. I think my very first job interview was actually with Chick-fil-A.
Well, we're not going to blow up Chick-fil-A because they're not a sponsor. So you can say with someone in the fast food industry.
With someone in the fast food industry.
Okay, and so as a candidate, like, what was your experience like?
I was fresh out of high school, so I had very minimal experience. Mostly club activities. Other than that, I had no work history.
Okay. So I'm happy you brought that up. And that's why I said when you're writing your resume, you have to be strategic in your approach, because your resume isn't a list of everything that you have done, but it's a glance of, hey, this is why you should hire me. Don't put everything on it, because you know what, I am most employers aren't going to take the time to read it. So you have to curate like your experience and capture like your skills and problem solving activities. So for someone like Diavian, who does not have a lot of work experience, you could put your volunteer experience, because volunteer experience is considered. Sometimes we may have someone that they've stepped out of the workforce for a little bit, so there is a gap in employment, and they may have volunteered during that time. That will still count. It won't count as a gap in your employment. I always say use tailored headings when you're describing your experiences. Do not put the exact job description, but you can put like certain keywords, because sometimes ATS, applicant tracking systems, when your resume is in that system and someone is searching for, let's say, a certain skill, if you like you're a payroll person and you've used ADP, and they're looking for someone that has ADP experience, then they're going to put that search in the ATS system, and that will pull your name, right? Depending on what they put in their Boolean search. So
Wow, I never knew that.
yeah. So I mean, it's like I always say, pull a job description. If you know of the position that you're looking to apply for, pull the job description ahead of time. And then on that job description, I will preface this by saying you're not lying. You're not going to make up experiences that you don't have, because essentially you will have to know how to do the job. So if it requires a license and you do not have that license, do not apply for that position. I don't see why. If I am a retail employee, why would I apply and I'm not a licensed? Let's say I'm looking for a nurse. A nurse requires that you get licensed by the nursing board. If you do not have that license, don't apply for the nursing job. We're not going to call you, right? So, I mean, dream big. If you want that nursing opportunity, go to school, get the education, take the test, and get licensed by the necessary regulatory board, and then you can apply for the position. But apply for the position that you know that you are qualified for. If you're not qualified for a licensed position, don't take it. All right. I want to apply to be a physician because guess what? I am not a physician. I try to stay with what my skill sets are if I was in the job market. So you also have to
check it too.
yes, you do have some employers that do education checks. I know a lot of depending on the position. You do have employers, if you're dealing with finance, a lot of times they'll run a credit check on you. I don't know if you're able to listen to Rodney's podcast last week with the importance of, having a good credit, because if you're in an accounting job and your credit is shabby, very likely, or if you're a treasurer of a organization, those are things that they look at because you're dealing with finance and they want to make sure that you're responsible when it comes on to finance. Certain positions may require that you take a physical, just because of the type of position. It may say you have to lift, stand, bend for large periods of time. Obviously, with the I just went blank, but with the Disability Act, they cannot discriminate. But they will ask for a physician to sign off that you can do the position, and that if they need to make some type of disability accommodation for you, always make sure when you're doing your resume, the handy dandy, what I like to call spell check. Diavian, so when you were doing your resume, did you use a tool, or how did you get your resume formatted?
Actually, I used Grammarly, and then once I did that, I had my resume peer reviewed by my mother. And that's the great thing about having someone who is in human resources as your parent, because they can help you with all these things that you never heard before.
That is true.
For instance, I always thought that in order to apply for a position, you always had to have some type of job experience. Even in college right now, my job experience is very limited. But I never knew that internships were valuable along with
Yes, that's a very key point. Paid employment isn't the only thing that matters to an employer. If you volunteer, that counts. If you are a part of a student organization, any type of philanthropy, any type of internships, if you do freelancing, that does count. And I'll tell you this. So in my day-to-day role, I one day I was sitting with someone.
And I also like to add if you're in like a type of community college, clubs are important as well. For
Yes.
anyone who's an undergrad, uh, especially like fraternities and sororities, you definitely put that on your application as well.
Yes, I do agree on that. I think for a candidate, and I use the term candidate because that's what the term is. If you're the person that's looking for the position, you are the candidate, and the person on the other end is, an employer or hiring manager. So I always say keep your resume visibly, like it has to be balanced. It has to read well. It has to, as she mentioned earlier, she has Grammarly. If you're using Microsoft or even Mac, they do have spell checks. Pay attention to those. And then ask a friend to read your resume, and see and get some feedback. Hey, how does this read? Like, what do you think? What do you think I should take off? Make sure what you have on your resume matches the job description. As I said before, get a copy of the job description. Kind of tailor your resume to that position, and then you just make it visibly balanced when you're writing the resume. So the dates should flow well. The spelling should flow, the font should flow, and the length of the resume also. Writing a resume I actually got a resume that was 25 pages long once. 25 pages long. And at the beginning of the conversation, I said, typically when a hiring manager or an employer is looking at a resume, you probably have, I'd say, a minute the most to make an impression and tell a story with your resume. So a resume that is 25 pages long, do you think that employer is going to read it? Probably not. No.
You were always taught in that the longer the better, but I guess in the case of hiring, the shorter is better, which is kind of hard because you have so much experience and you have so much things to say with just a minute.
Yeah. Well, for certain positions, I'd say if it's like a C-suite position, obviously they'll take a little bit more time in reading your resume, and your resume could be a little bit longer because there are probably multiple tiers to the interview.
Can you clarify what C-suite position is?
So C-suite is typically like your leadership, like you're in a C-suite. It's typically like your CEO, chief compliance officer, chief financial officer. So where there's a chief in front of it, chief business development officer, chief information technical officer. And I think that's how pretty much the C-suite came in. And they typically are the leaders who strategize and have developed the plans on how an organization runs. So if most times when you're interviewing for a C-suite position, it's a little bit longer. Sometimes their resume is a little bit different. They may have an executive profile, because now typically for a C-suite position, they're looking for someone who has the experience. Typically, it's more than 5 to 7 years for C-suite positions because they are not only counting on, education does help, or it does matter sometimes, but a lot of times your C-suites don't have a lot of degrees behind their name, but they have the expertise that comes with experience.
So how does your how important is the college that you go to when it comes to the application process?
It
Especially
depends.
the more
It
years
actually,
of experience that you have.
yeah, of course, certain schools do carry a prestige to it, and some employers do care. But based on my experience, the school, as long as you got the degree, they're going to look at the education and the experience more so, or like what you did in school. So does the school matter to some organizations? Yes, but to the majority, probably not. So that's why I say, like, when you're crafting your resume, you know, you have to put the important stuff first. Keep it clear and simple. While you're listing your skill set, you can put it in the form of what an accomplishment is versus just like a one word skill. You can list like, okay, your accomplishment with the skill in the keyword. I was able to utilize ADP to build or to cut down payroll by such and such percentage. Because your resume is telling a story. Now, federal resumes are a little bit different. They have a specific format that you have to kind of go by. I think they use like a reverse chronologically order to list your experience, and you have to keep like your paragraphs short. But typically, if you apply at a federal position, you can get the template from them themselves. In term like typically what looks good on a federal resume is your
Do you have any particular templates that you recommend?
For a federal resume.
Any type of resume. What is your favorite? As you say, you read hundreds of resumes a day. What would you say would be the best? What does your ideal candidate look like in terms of organization and stuff like that?
Well, it depends on the position. So, I mean, I don't have a favorite type resume. I like a resume that's clear, consistent, clean, and easy to read. And if someone's handing me a resume, I like to see that they make an effort. So when you go to school and they say, oh, put it on this special paper, you know what? It does help. I've been to conferences where someone gave me a resume, they packaged it nicely, did not have the position available then, but because they made a good first impression, I've reached out to that person 6 months to a year later, and they were unable to give them another position when it opened up. So I think it's more so first impression, because your resume is first impression and tells a story about you. Mm-hmm. So, as I said, the resume, the person is not really seeing you unless it's an interview in person. So typically when you're applying for a position, you're uploading your resume along with a cover letter. A lot of people don't read cover letters. I do. I like a good cover letter because it just tells me that you've made the effort, and that, typically if you're going to make the effort, you may make the effort in the role. But sometimes that's not the case, because you do have some people that interview well, they go through the process well, and when they get to the job, it's a whole different ball game. But I say that to say I still like when someone does a good resume, a good cover letter. And by the way, this is a service of Clad's Resources and Consulting. We do offer resume writing and mock interviews. And I actually added that as an aspect or a service of Clad's does offer resume writing services. We can do over your professional, like your LinkedIn profile for you, to make you more attractable to employers. And we do offer mock interviews, because sometimes, you go through, when you're interviewing, you get so nervous. And so if you're able to walk through and do like a pre-interview with someone who is going to pull the exact job that you're looking for and kind of prep you for the position, I'm not saying we're guaranteeing you the position, but we're making you a little bit more prepared for the position. So Clad's does offer resume writing, interview preparation, writing your career.
Yes. Does Clad's Resources, for instance, if I was a graduate student and I was potentially, as a undergrad, I'm potentially trying to get into a graduate's program, would Clad's be able to help me with my personal statement essay, my overall resume, and mock interviews for that as well?
Yes, we do have that service available. Now, we're not going to write your personal statement for you, but we can guide you through the process. So, because at the end of the day, I mean, it has to be your work. Well, while the resume we will write, For the graduate students, I know they want you to write that essay to get into the graduate program. We'll definitely help you put pen to paper and walk you through the process. And then we'll proofread it for you also and offer some tips and suggestions for you.
And I would also like to add that my Miss Katie Ann is a graduate student as well. She's in a doctorate's program, so she's very familiar with the
I am
process
familiar with
as
the
a
process. I
as a
am.
as a graduate student.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm actually pursuing a PhD right now. So I've been through the process, um, you know, and I do, my background is HR, so obviously resumes, interviewing, um, performance coaching, just pretty much problem solving and advising. That's my background, so that's why we offer that service.
Clad's Resources and Consulting values its customers. Our planner Footsteps to My Vision is a 13-month planner that can be used for 5 years. It walks you through SMART goals, SWOT analysis, action planning, and holds you accountable through 3 monthly check-ins. We work only with top quality materials, innovative designs, and verified suppliers, which are guaranteed to deliver to our high expectations, because when it comes to our customer satisfaction, there's no room for compromise. Made with high-quality PU leather and paper planner helps you focus on achieving your goals by giving you a sense of personal and professional satisfaction. Some of the amazing features of this product: Vision Board Planner, luxury pen, 8GB USB flash drive, wireless mouse, ultra-elegant packaging box, available in 5 stunning colors: black, red, gold, pink, navy blue. Material: PU leather. 13-month planner. Elastic band for easy handling. Our Footsteps to My Vision is available at Amazon, Facebook, Instagram, our website, and at Walmart. You may also follow us at www.cladsresources.com, Instagram, Clads Resources, Facebook, www.facebook.com/cladsresources/.
You're listening to Talk with Clads. Find more resources online at cladsresources.com. Now back to the show with your host, Katie Ann.
So to go over it again, a resume typically has they're all similar formats. They're just probably written different ways. There's always like a header. And it's basically a summary about you. And that could be like 1 to 2 sentences. Also, you have your education section, your work experience section, or it could be like your volunteer section. If you don't have work experience, and then you would highlight any accomplishment on it. Some people like to have like a skills section. But make sure that your resume just has the necessary relevant information that is needed. So as I said before, and I will stress again, pull the job description, review it, and then look at what that employer or hiring manager is looking for. And then you would tailor your resume to that and use spell check. Make sure you use spell check, because you don't want to send in your resume and it's like just filled with errors, because then that just showed that you did not take the time that was necessary to put your best foot forward.
Exactly.
Yeah. A lot of times I'll have someone reach out to me. Sometimes they'll send a resume, then they'll send me like a link in mail just to say, hey, I applied to this position. What are your thoughts? It's a great way to network. So I would say if you're looking for some professional, always try to use LinkedIn. LinkedIn also has great learning tools. They have people on it also that do resume writing services.
I'd
Um,
also like to add, sorry for interrupting you. Um, Always reach out and give your resume, or to my knowledge, is it okay to give your resume and email it to just like the CEO of a company? What are the likelihoods, or not even just the CEO, just the, I would say, some type of head of the company? What are would it be appropriate to send them your resume through LinkedIn, or would that be inappropriate?
I won't say the best thing, because I've had people reach out to the head of an organization and then that person will forward the message to me. It just depends how you do it. But I would say apply directly to the position, but you may send an introductory email to the person of the organization or the hiring manager. A lot of times when places are hiring, you can easily go and follow the organization to see who is the recruiter or hiring manager that's hiring. LinkedIn will, if LinkedIn posts a job, it will say posted by, and you can reach out to that person directly. It will also show you what connections you have that work at that organization, and you can always ask them to make an introduction. Um, a good way also to make a good first impression are networking events, and like area specific networking events. Let's say you are into HR, and I'll just use HR because that's I am what I do. Then you have the organization that's called SHRM, and from SHRM you have different chapters, and you can become a member of of those chapters, and there you'll meet different people in the industry from different sectors, and if they have any opportunities available, then sometimes they will refer you to those positions. So if you're in a club, SHRM also has like a student chapter. So find out what the student chapter is, for that organization that you are, for that field that you are interested in, because they may have opportunities available for a position or for internships. Either way, it's a way to help you put your best foot forward also. So I know, Diavian, you are pursuing marketing.
Yes.
So, I would say your local chapter at the school that you go to, I'd say become a member of that. And
I actually didn't know my school had local chapters, so that's interesting.
yeah, I think most any field that you go in, there's always a niche market to it where you can meet someone from a specific group. Remember when you did the whole anime thing?
Let's not talk about that.
And there is a niche. Anime is
Oh,
one.
yes, and if you're in college, make sure to talk to your professors because they can really help you get these cool internships, or
Yes.
these cool research projects that will look great on your resume. Or these professors have, you may get to connect, as I might say, like say, oh, connections and networking are important. So establishing relationship, just going to office hours and stuff, it really helps.
Yes, and they can also be potential references.
Yeah.
They will be a lot of times if you're in school and you need a reference. It's typically because when someone asks you for a reference, they're not asking you for mom, dad, auntie, sister, cousin. They're asking you for a professional reference, and that could be someone that you volunteered with from the organization, um, or a professor. So they are good resources to be references. And also, this is one thing I'll say. If you're going to list someone as a reference, um, on your resume, I like to say see resumes attached versus us in the person information. Um, but that's just a personal preference. That's not something that you have to do. Uh, Let the person know. Just don't put their name down as a reference and then they don't know, because when the employer calls them and go, "Hey, John Brown listed you as a reference," and I've seen it happen multiple times where the person would go, "Huh? Like, why did John even list me as a reference? I don't think John is good at what he does." and then they will give a bad reference on that person. So
I guess most people think that these companies won't actually reach out to the references.
no, I mean, most employers will do a reference check, or a lot of times, depending on the state that you're in, they'll just do like an employment verification. And they may use like certain services such as like workforce number to just check like dates of employment and so forth. So it's still validating the information that you put on your application or your resume. And then I like to also advise, for safety purposes, do not list your address on your reference, on your resume. I'm sorry. You can list your name, your telephone number, your link, your LinkedIn profile. Some people have a portfolio. And that is just one, you don't want the wrong person to have your address. And two, you also, believe it or not, some people will look at your address and say, well, this person lives this so far from the job. I am not sure if I want to hire this person, where you're willing to make that commute. But because you put your address on it, then that kind of takes you out of the game. Another thing is, depending on the area that you live, some people do discriminate. Oh, this person lives in such and such area, and this is this type of crowd. It's discriminatory. It is a discriminatory practice, but people do it. So you have to be careful. I have seen pictures on resumes. I have mixed feelings about that because, again, if you are creative, I can see how it works. If you're in an industry that's graphics, more arts driven, and also marketing, but also I do believe that also opens up the door for someone to discriminate because they'll even discriminate by your name. So you want to give yourself the best opportunity to sell yourself based on your skill sets and what value you bring to the organization, and be given that fair opportunity. Now, it's illegal to discriminate, but people do discriminate. So, just to protect yourself as much as possible. So address, I do not recommend putting your address on your resume. I say name, telephone number, email address, a LinkedIn profile if you have one. If you have a portfolio, maybe a link to your portfolio, that works. But I say leave the address. Pictures, I think it's industry specific. If it doesn't require a picture, there's no reason for you to put your picture on it, because you want to try to eliminate and reduce discrimination as much as possible.
Yeah.
Any tips that you may have, Diavin? You've not been in, you have not had multiple jobs, but from a student's point of view, like what tips would you offer based on your experience?
Just getting involved in your local school. I think people really underestimate club activities a lot. Getting like involved in different organizations and networking there. I think college is important. Don't get me wrong. But depending on your degree and what you're going into, networking to me is the most important part. So joining as many organizations, many clubs, volunteering, internships, just pursue. As you're pursuing these things, you're gonna meet different people, and you never know. Maybe the person that you were in that club with might be the person who's interviewing you for that job you really, really want.
Yes. Yes.
That's one of my main tips, and I think a lot of people underestimate the importance of clubs.
Yes. So network. Yeah. Network. They say, I read an article once, and it said 60% of the time that people get jobs is because of who they know and not what they know. So,
which is unfortunate, but still.
Yes. It depends on what side of the the realm you are on. But right. It happens. It really does happen. So, if you know networking works, use it to your advantage. Life is not going to always be fair, but you want to give yourself an advantage as much as possible. And that's having a good resume, putting your best foot forward, making sure your resume is formatted properly, using the handy dandy spell check. Do not devalue volunteer experience or club experience, any type of leadership experience. Put that in. If you're a mom and you've taken a break, that's okay. I mean, you definitely, that does not stop you from getting a position. You can explain why the break is. Sometimes I see it in bracket signs.
I also had a lot of interviewing experience as well. Just keep doing it over and over again.
Yes.
I know I did my first interview, I was very nervous, but the more times I practice and the more time, especially as an introverted person who doesn't really like to socialize too much, um, getting out of your comfort zone and just putting yourself out there really, really helps. And it starts to become an art when you start talking to people more.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, this is what I say. Like if I'm in an interview with someone and I see that they're getting nervous, I'll say, you are interviewing me just as much as I'm interviewing you, because you have to make sure that it is the right fit. Like on the employer side, I'm making sure that you're the best candidate for the opportunity that the organization has. However, as the candidate, you have to make sure that as an employer, we are aligned with what your goals are. So bear in mind, like when you go forward, it's natural to get nervous sometimes, especially if you're having like a panel interview and multiple people are interviewing you. But it's an interview on both sides. It has to be a fit for the employer. Also has to be a fit for the candidate. Be prepared.
I'm actually curious, what is the best end of interview question that, I know a lot of interviewers say, do you have any questions for me? Do you like when interviewers ask you questions? And what was the best question that you answered to, the best questions that you had that stuck out to you a lot?
So I actually love when candidates ask questions, just because it just shows that they are engaged and want to learn more about the position. When someone said, you've kind of explained everything and no, I don't have any questions. I'm like, well, I mean, you must have a question, but a question that has stumped me. Ooh.
Your favorite question that a candidate has asked you.
My favorite question that a candidate has asked me. I think my favorite candidate question was actually what I just said. I had a candidate that said, based on your experience in working for this organization, how has it added value to you as an employee? And I thought, well, because it was a female at the time, but she wanted to see if, what type of employer was, how was this employer? How did it affect? Was there work-life balance? Did it have growth opportunities? So I thought it was a very interesting question. Person did get the position because, certain things stand out. They were definitely engaged. They had a lot of historical questions or accomplishments that they saw that the organization did. So I like a candidate that does homework. And clearly she did. So I think that was the most interesting question at the end of the interview that I have received. But as I said, it's an interview on both parts. You want to see that it's also the right fit for you when you're taking a position. And as the employer wants to see that you are the right fit for them. It's okay to ask salary and negotiate your salary. Previously, like if you're speaking to a recruiter, make sure it's the best fit salary-wise for you. And a lot of people say, oh, don't bring up salary. Well, you want to make sure that the process is transparent. I don't want to hear what the salary is at the end of the interview, because it may be significantly under what I'm looking for as a candidate. So
how do you get a salary though, especially if they already have a set salary?
I think everything is negotiable. I think all employers are negotiable. I think sometimes if it's a budgeted position, like a government position, sometimes that's a little bit more difficult. But I think private employers are a little bit more negotiable. I wouldn't say 20, 30,000 over the amount. You also have to be realistic because they do have a budget for that position. But you can also go on pay scale. I think Indeed may have a function. I think Glassdoor may have a function of what the position that you're applying for pays. And also you can have, even if you're in school, you can speak with your career advisor. They have certain tools that schools have that they can do a salary analysis to see what the market pays, what is the compensation. Department of Labor, they also offer that information because agencies have to report that to the Department of Labor too. I think ONET also offers that information, the position, what the job description is for that role, and what the median is, which is the middle range, what the minimum range is for that position, and what the maximum range is. Most employers, when they're negotiating, they are a little bit at the medium range and not at the max. So you can always try to negotiate. Sometimes, if you're at the max, then it's hard to grow in salary. But you know what? If you can get it, why not? Because it's easier to get it at the beginning of a position than when you're employed. You know what I mean? It's a little bit harder to get a salary adjustment because performance increases. Sometimes some facilities or some organizations will do 2 to 5%, or their max is 10%. So it's okay to negotiate your salary up front first. And then when you speak with your recruiter for the position, you already know what the salary is. You go in, you've agreed to the salary, then you interview, and then you focus on your skill sets.
So should you ask about potential salary increase before the interview?
I would say before. You can ask, hey, what does a typical increases look like? Are they merit based for performances, or are they tied into certain metrics? Those are things I would say, whatever organization you're interviewing with, you can clear those questions out with HR or the recruiter. And that's a qualifier. That's a qualifier because most times they won't put you in front to interview if you have not met on the salary requirements. But the last thing you want to do is go forward, and then when you're offered a salary, it's not what you're looking for, or it's way below what you're looking for, and then they may be at their max number, and then that wouldn't work for you. So at CLADS, we do offer these tools. As I said, it's a part of our interview preparation process. If you are interested in learning more, you can go to www.cladsresources.com. Again, the website is www.cladsresources.com. We offer resume writing services, interview preparation. We'll do a salary analysis for you because we're trying to make sure that you're ready for the goals ahead. And if you're a student, we'll help you get ready also for graduate school. Well, Diavian, it was a pleasure having you call in and speaking with you.
Thank you, Clads, for having me.
I know as you get more into college, probably those phone calls will be a little bit less. So I do appreciate you just participating in this podcast. And everyone, as I said before, we have some exciting things ahead. Very exciting things ahead with the Global Media and Information Literacy Week. I think we're going to have, we'll make it a month long. And again, the theme is Media and Information Literacy for the Public Good. And this is a part of us partnering with UNESCO. So I am so excited, and I feel blessed to have this opportunity presented to me because it came from out of nowhere. And I'm blessed, so I thank God for that opportunity. And I hope that when the listeners listen, that the information that's being shared, be it about women, social media, non-for-profits, strategic planning, that we are able to educate everyone that's listening or who participates in the panel discussion that you get, you come from it learning something that you didn't know before. So everyone, big things ahead again, I said. Thank you so much, Diavian, for joining us. And all my listeners, thank you so much for taking some time to talk with Clads. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Find us on social media at Clads Resources and online at www.cladsresources.com. Our planner, Footsteps to My Vision, is also located on our website or on Facebook, Instagram, or Amazon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, keep creating your footpath to your vision.